I'm telling you that they talked about interrogations that they had done and said, we want to use enhanced techniques, and we have legal opinions that say that they are okay. We are not using waterboarding. That's the only mention that they were not using it. And we now know that earlier they were. So yes, I am saying that they are misleading, that the CIA was misleading the Congress. And at the same time, the administration was misleading the Congress on the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
All right, so was the Bush administration and the CIA, were they lying to Congress? House Speaker Nancy Pelosi seems to be ramping up the pressure regarding waterboarding and the way it was employed against terrorist suspects back then, and what she and other members of Congress knew about it. You might have heard her live weekly news conference just a couple of minutes ago on Happening Now. That was topic A of her session with the press. It is becoming a very hot political battle right now. Let's talk about it with Pete Seat. He was a White House spokesman during the Bush administration. Fox News contributor Bob Beckel, a former Mondale campaign manager and a diehard Democrat. All right, Pete, was the Bush administration lying to Congress, misleading Congress, as the Speaker says?
You know, this briefing was really, really painful to watch. I've seen a lot of tough briefings when I was at the White House where the press are really on their A game, peppering the spokesman or the congressional leader with a lot of questions. And it was tough to watch. I've got a notebook here where I've written about 100 different notes because she was all over the place. And the real big takeaway, as Bill Salmon was saying earlier, is accusing the CIA of lying. She has opened up a box she does not want to open and allowing Republicans to accuse her of doing that. And her poll numbers are already going down every single day because she has been unable to find a coherent answer to what she knew and when she knew it on this issue.
Okay, but I got to get an answer from you on my question. I mean, was the Bush administration misleading Congress? Was the CIA doing the same, but you were in the administration?
Right, and my understanding is the intelligence that the CIA had on these interrogations and on, she brought up weapons of mass destruction, it's intelligence that a number of countries had, and they were presenting what they had to members of Congress. But she's also saying these things, and from what I gather, she wasn't even at the second briefing. She's relying on members of her staff to tell her what happened. So that's another question. Why was the ranking member of the Intelligence Committee not attending briefings of this importance?
Bob Beckel, you probably heard Bill Salmon saying that she's in some trouble here, and that even her demeanor suggested it. Did you feel that way, Bob?
Well, first of all, let me just say, Pete, that was the best non-answer to a question that John asked you twice now, and let me answer it for you. Was the Bush administration and the CIA misleading and lying to Congress? Yes, is the answer, plain and simple. We know, for example, that the CIA denied that they had secret prisons in foreign countries where they're interrogating prisoners until it got out in the press. When she said, and I've had this confirmed from other people who were in that briefing, that they did say they had legal opinions and they could use waterboarding. In fact, they were using waterboarding. And Bill Salmon says that she's now the big political issue. That's true as of this moment, and it was not a pretty sight. I agree with you on that. As of this moment, she is, but when the whole story comes out, the question really is, was the CIA and the Bush administration telling the Congress and the public the truth? We know they weren't telling us the truth about nuclear weapons. We know Dick Cheney lied on Meet the Press when he said that the Iraqis got together in Prague with Al-Qaeda. I mean, if you're putting the credibility of the Bush administration and the CIA then up against Nancy Pelosi and Democrats now, you're going to lose that game.
So you don't think that this is going to be a political issue that's going to hurt her?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah, it's going to be a big political issue. Do I think it's going to hurt her? I think in the short run it's going to hurt her. In the long run, I think it's going to come right back. Look, Barack Obama had tried to stay away from going back into the previous Bush administration. He kept saying, I want to look forward. Events forced him to go forward. Yesterday, I think he took the right step by not releasing those photos. But now, if we're going to have a truth commission, then let's bring it all out, including everything Dick Cheney knew, everything Dick Cheney says now in those memos that he says saved American lives, which means I want to see specifically that we knew that there was a specific plan, where it was going to be, when it was going to be, who was it going to do it to, and how many Americans were at risk. If those questions are answered, Cheney's right. And I'll tell you, they won't be answered that way. And you're going to find out this has been a pattern a pattern in the Bush administration of lying and misleading Congress and the American people.
Pete, the uproar from the media there in the room, I mean, clearly they had a bunch of questions they still wanted to ask the Speaker. I mean, you've been in that position as working in the White House press office. When the press don't get their questions answered, it seems like there are going to be a lot of people running to their, sources and doing a lot of digging here coming up.
Absolutely, and the first thing, Bob, if we keep meeting like this, I'm concerned that Cal Thomas, your usual conservative sparring partner, is going to get a little jealous. But look, the reporters, I think, were doing their job. They were doing justice for the American people and asking tough questions. And as I said before, she was all over the place. She was not really answering what they wanted to know. And they will, like you said, they will go to get sources, even if they are unnamed sources, from the CIA and other places to get what they need to get to refute what the Speaker has been saying.
Well, can I say one thing here? We are seeing, this is a big deal, what's going on right now, because of the following. One, yes, it does bring political heat on Nancy Pelosi, but because they wanted to limit the scope of these truth hearings, in fact, not have them at all, in order now to get it all out, you're going to have a much broader Truth Commission, and it's going to be a very big deal for a very long period of time. The downside of that is a lot of things that Barack Obama wants to get done may well get taken off the front page because of this, but we are now seeing a sea change. We're now going to go back. We're going to investigate not just torture, but Iraq and who knew what and who knew when, and that included the President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States. So it's going to be a big deal, no question about it.
Bob, she said, and we're asking our viewers, if they agree with this, she says Americans want this Truth Commission. I mean, they might want it in San Francisco, but I'm not sure they want it in Kansas and Nebraska.
I don't think they do want it. I don't agree with her on that, but I'll tell you what, they're now going to get it, whether they want it or not, because from the Democrat standpoint, they've got to now go as much out there as possible, if for nothing else, to cover on what Pelosi has said here. I mean, otherwise, look, somebody's lying here. Somebody is not telling the truth, right? We know that. So that means in order to get to that, you got to get a full hearing to get it out.
Got to get that Truth Commission going, I guess. All right. Bob Beckel and Pete Seat. We'll have you back another time, whether Cal's jealous or not. Thank you both.